Welcome to Chamber Talk, brought to you by North Orange County Chamber, where we explore the stories and insights of leaders, business owners and CEOs from various sectors who are making a difference in our community and region. Whether you're tuning in via podcast or joining us via video, we're glad to have you here. Hi, I'm your host Andrew Gregson, and today's guest is someone whose story and service truly embodies what leadership and education is all about. Joining us today is Dr. Sue Johnson, the superintendent of Savanna School District. Her journey from first-generation college student to one of Orange County's most celebrated educational leaders is nothing but inspiring. Sue, or Dr. Johnson, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here.
That's excellent. I'm glad you're pleased to be here. That's a great start for today, isn't it? So I'd like to start a little bit. I was reading through your bio on the school website, and it mentioned that you first said that on your first day of kindergarten that you knew you wanted to become a teacher, which is quite remarkable. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that moment?
You know, it's thinking back, it was so inspiring to look at the teacher and look at all she did to make me want to come to school every single day. And that first day of kindergarten, you're in awe. You're so excited to learn. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's where I set my sights right at the moment, that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I was so excited to be there. And hopefully every one of our children is like that, walking into their first day of kindergarten.
Now, if you don't mind, where was that kindergarten?
That kindergarten was at Kingsley School in the Pomona Unified School District, here local. And I grew up in Pomona. We moved to Ontario when I was at the end of third grade, moving into fourth grade. And I had that feeling with every one of my teachers. And to this day, I can still name every single elementary teacher I had. I can still feel the classroom. I can still see the classroom. I can still remember many of the activities we did. But more importantly, I remember how those teachers made me feel. It made me feel like I wanted to come to school. And that's why I wanted to give back to the community and give back as a teacher.
That's pretty amazing. So, you know, it's growing up, you're the third eldest of several siblings, right? And so how did your early life shape? How did it shape through the goals and the things you do today?
That's a great question. As the third oldest of seven children, we had a lot of different responsibilities. I was, in the later years, responsible a lot for my brothers who were 10 years younger than me. And we had a lot of opportunities to be involved with them. I had a lot of opportunities to be involved with them in their schooling, going and volunteering in their classrooms, because I was in college by the time they were in elementary school. And that was exciting to me because I was able to give back in that way.
Now, when you were talking about your college years, you worked part-time. I believe you relied on some grants and ultimately became one of the first in your family to earn your college degree. What were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them back then?
You know, going to college wasn't a goal in our family. It wasn't an expectation. My dad was a traveling salesperson. He sold upholstery for cars, and he worked really hard. And when I decided to go to college, they didn't have the funding for it. So it was my responsibility to find the grants, to go to college on those grants. And I remember the first grant I got was $200. I'm going to age myself now. $200 paid for tuition and books my entire first year of college.
Wow.
You can't even buy a textbook for that now. But I set my sights on Cal Poly Pomona. It was in my backyard because we were in Ontario, and I just applied, got in, and just started classes. I didn't know that you had to apply well in advance, but I was able to get in and enjoyed college tremendously. I learned a lot. I can say I wasn't involved in a lot of activities or sports. I remember going to the library quite often after classes or between classes just to study, because when you have 6 siblings at home, there isn't always a quiet space to study. And so going to that library became a safe haven for me. That was a place that I could go and I could learn, and I could really focus on my instruction and my education.
And what were your favorite topics at the time?
You know, I remember fondly some instructors that I had, and one of them taught all of the math methods classes, and she was just an inspiration to me because of the way that she taught. And to this day, I still keep in contact with her. I was able to go and visit her in a facility where she is now last Christmas, and it was just such a heartwarming experience. I do write to her on a regular basis and say, thank you so much. You shaped my career. And those are the kinds of people that you want to give back to. Those are the people that you want to remember. And she was really good at encouraging me to continue going. And I think one time I got a B in a class, it's like, I shouldn't have gotten a B. What do I do? And so she helped me challenge and go back and look at that class and see if I really did earn the B or if there was maybe a mistake on one of the tests. So
do you feel that, I'm assuming then, do you feel that throughout your career, part of the good sort of way of being shown how to communicate between student and teacher just carried through you through the years?
It did, absolutely. And I think having those relationships with the teachers, knowing who they are, and the teacher relationship with the student was so important. And being able to support me in my learning was what fed me to support students in their learning.
That makes sense. Now, did you go on to love being the mathematical teacher, or?
I wouldn't say that was I certainly loved teaching math because as Cal Poly is known for a learn by doing university, I really found the hands-on learning the most important and something that you can bring in. Kids learn by doing anyway. It's a tangible type of a thing. And math lends itself very, very well to that. You can measure, you can pour, you can count, you can manipulate things to, like you can count objects. We call them math manipulatives because you have the teddy bears that you can count, or you can do the one-to-one correspondence, or you can do the color matching. That's where it's so important for kids to have those hands-on experiences.
Now, you mentioned earlier that obviously, you said, you're aging yourself with the type of grant you got. Today is a whole different sort of like playing field, isn't it? Very, very, very different indeed. In fact, even more so because now there's less grants out there. What sort of advice would you give to young students of that age who are looking to go into college, if you had any, regarding how to get themselves through it?
Well, and I actually got very lucky. As I said, I didn't know that I had to apply in the spring or even the fall before to go to college. I turned in the application over the summer, I got in, and I started. Today, you'd never be able to do that. So my advice to students is to plan ahead. Start looking at colleges and universities in your early high school years. Start looking at where you want to go. With my daughters, we took them on college tours starting in 10th grade, going out to start checking into the colleges they might want to go to. Where would they like to, what do they want to major in? What do they think they want to do? And going on those college visits and making sure that you have an idea in mind of where you want to go, not just for the social life, but really for the academics as well. And I think looking at as many grant opportunities as there are out there, you need to start that early on because college has become much more competitive to get into and much more competitive to stay in because the expectations are super high. So I think for young people today, there are a lot of grant applications, a lot of scholarship applications that go completely unapplied for. People don't apply. And I think looking into those, looking at all of the demographics that you fall within and being able to start those applications, say your junior year of high school or even younger, like the Buena Park Lions, they have a student speaker contest and you can go quite far in that. You could start as young as 9th grade presenting and participating in that student speaker contest, and by the time you get to be a senior, you could win it. You could go all the way, and the final, if you go all the way through the state level, it's like a $25,000 grant, which is amazing.
Right,
and that's just money that you get on the table. I volunteer actually at Cal Poly Pomona, so giving back to the university. One of the groups I'm very proud of is we started what is called a Partners in Education program, and this is truly grant funded. We have a fundraising committee, and they are tenacious at getting funds from donors who are passionate about teaching and supporting future teachers. And this is really about supporting future teachers, because we found that those students who can make it through their bachelor's degree but then need to take a year off of work to be able to support themselves and really learn about how to teach in the classrooms, they couldn't afford it, so they were dropping out. So we started this program back in 2006 that we have now celebrated. We'll be celebrating our 20th anniversary. We've given out more than 325 fellowships, as we call them, and they're for $5,000 each. And thinking about how many of those go unapplied for every year it breaks my heart, because so often students just don't apply. They apply for the PI fellowship, but they don't apply for other grants and other opportunities. And I think it's really important for students to get out there and start investigating and looking at what they can do. And I think everybody needs a parent who is a fellowship or a scholarship manager, so that they can manage those scholarships and know what they've applied for and know where they're at. Get your letters of reference. Do some volunteer work in the community, because colleges are looking for well-rounded students. They're not looking for people who are just students. And I don't mean just students, but they want you to be involved in your activities. I was a Girl Scout leader for 12 years. I had 20 girls go through and get their gold award at different times, but those are the kinds of things that you want to see on a college application. You want to see that involvement in the school community, in the community. They want to see that you're participating in outside activities. You're not just studying. They want to see your involvement in sports. They want to see your involvement in giving back somehow. So all of those are really important to the community. And having been to the Buena Park Seroptimus Luncheon this year, I was especially honored by just talking to the young women, because they are the ones who are pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, going back to school and continuing their education to make a better life for themselves. And I'm so proud of that organization, because they sponsor young women to go back to school to get their college degrees. And all of those are scholarships. All of those opportunities are important for young women, young men to get involved in. If you look at even Cypress College, when they have their fundraisers and their Americana awards, those are all fundraisers specifically aimed at giving children or students the opportunity to advance in their education.
That's true.
And that's the most important thing we can do, is build that next generation one student at a time. And it starts at the elementary level, which I'm really, really proud of. That's what I'm most passionate about.
So that's great advice, educational advice for sure. And it sounds like mum and dad should become sort of like educational managers, and the kids need to build up a school resume. With that said, what about those who've gone through these programs and then come back to give back? You want to share a little bit about that?
I do. Thank you so much for asking. We have had students who go through our schools and their parents are passionate about getting them involved in community volunteerism, and they want their children to give back. They make it a goal for their children to give back. So we have had students who have graduated from 6th grade come back and do volunteer work on our campuses. They've set up pantries, they've set up clothing shops, they've donated books, they brought things back to our schools. I have a former student who was able to donate gift cards for shopping sprees, grocery shopping for families in need. We've had students come back and donate funds for shoes for children because they saw the advantage of good shoes. He wanted to go into being a podiatrist, and he felt that shoes were really important. So I thought that that was a great opportunity. But having a parent who can really help you manage your time, really from a young age, is so important. And but I didn't have that parent.
No.
So you have to be able to be a self-starter as well. So if you don't have a parent influence like that, but you have an important adult in your life, you always have someone who is going to encourage you and help you see the benefit of giving back to your community. And that's what I've tried to instill in my own children and in the children that are involved in our schools. So thank you for asking.
Oh, of course. So your career spans quite a few decades, from teaching in Wrightwood, right? And then obviously joining Savanna School District back in the 90s. What originally drew you to Savanna and sort of really, I suppose, kept you here over the last few years?
Great question. I think it was looking for something different. And at the time I had taught in Wrightwood for a number of years. I moved into an assistant principal and principal roles. And then I wanted to do something in curriculum and instruction. And when I saw the advertisement for a curriculum coordinator position, I had never heard of Savanna School District. I lived in Riverside County. I took a chance and applied for a position, came out and interviewed, and I was super impressed because at the time the superintendent, Dr. Tom Halverson, interviewed, and it was a team of interviewers, and then he wanted to come see me teach. I was teaching at Cal State San Bernardino at the time, and he came out to watch me teach. And I thought, wow, that was pretty impressive that they would actually come and watch. And that is still a part of our process today. If we're hiring somebody to teach or to teach teachers, we're going to watch them teach before we actually hire them.
Right.
Anybody can talk.
Yeah, you're
anybody
right.
can interview. It takes a special person to be able to talk to children and to teach children.
Yeah.
And to make sure that they understand the concepts and they're not just talking at them, they're talking with them.
Right.
And that's very important.
Yeah, I can see why that would be very important. I like that. That's a very innovative thing to do. That's smart.
And that was a long time ago.
Right.
And we still do it today.
And you still do it today. Yeah, but that's a great thing of doing. So talking about that sort of leads me into the next question is, and I know there's a lot, but what would you say are the main areas or landscapes of education that's changed since you first started, particularly with Savanna?
Oh my goodness, there's so much that has changed. I think just the explosion of technology,
right.
Our world has changed. I mean, I remember going to college and there was an entire floor made up of a mainframe of a computer. Now your mainframe of a computer sits in your lap.
Right.
I mean, you think about it. I remember coming into Savanna and Dr. Halverson said, should we get Mac computers and, should we get more Macs? Because we had one Mac in every school.
Right.
And I said, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I went to a committee. We had a technology committee at the time. And they said, nah, computers are never going to catch on. At the time, we thought maybe that was the case.
Sure.
They caught on, and they caught on big time.
Right.
So I think that technology has changed the way not only we teach, but we expect children to learn. I think but there's still a human element.
Sure.
I think the pandemic, in terms of changing a landscape, put us on overdrive into moving that needle with technology.
Right.
We had wanted to get to one-to-one devices forever. We couldn't afford it.
Right.
Thank goodness for some of the COVID relief monies from the federal government that helped us to do that.
Right.
We were able to invest in our students, invest in their education by being able to purchase those devices and have them available. I think that piece is big. I think we also have to remember that technology isn't about using the technology. It's using the technology to learn. And it's not about just using an iPad, but what are you doing with that iPad? What are you doing with that computer?
Right.
Because teaching children how to use it is one thing, but teaching them to use it to learn is a whole different ballgame.
Sure.
And I don't think we'll ever replace books. Books have a very important role in education, in children's learning. Look at a young child. I mean, I have a 3-year-old grandson who loves books, and it's like, all right, 5 more books. I mean, you can only read 5 books tonight. let's choose the books carefully. But he loves to read, and he would read for an hour and a half every night if you'd let him.
Right.
Because, well, and we do let him
Sure.
read as much as he needs to, but
you do.
as he wants to. But sometimes there is a limit. I mean, it gets to be 9:30, and it's like,
Yeah, it's
okay, buddy,
bedtime.
it's time to go to bed. But I do think that kids still need those hard copy books. They still need to go to libraries. They need those experiences, and we need to have books in the hands of children.
Right. Now, just out of interest, when you were talking there, it made me think of something. Does this change slightly the way or the role of an educator? Because, you know, you were talking about books, and obviously there's a one way of teaching, but now you're teaching with computers, tablets. I mean, that sort of opens up a different way of educating people, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know that it changes a way of educating people. I think it opens up the resources available to children.
Okay.
And I do think it opens up the world, because now, instead of necessarily bringing an author to your school, you could go to visit the author electronically. The pandemic taught us that, because we were able to connect worldwide. You don't have to just write letters to your pen pals in another state. You can connect with them over Zoom.
Right.
So I think that teachers have been able to open the world. You can view volcanoes erupting where you can't necessarily go to see the volcanoes erupting. So we're bringing the world into the classroom much more than we've ever been able to do before. But I think the other landscape that's happened is the expectations of educators have increased exponentially.
Okay.
I mean, we're now expected to do more and more and more that is sometimes hard to fit into a school day. And every time there's a new law passed or a new thing out there, it's like, that's great, but where are we going to fit it?
Right.
And how are we going to do that? So I think we have to remember we need to teach reading, we need to teach math, we need to teach social studies, we need to teach science, and we've always taught cursive writing. I'm really proud of that.
Good.
But we expanded it this last year. We were teaching cursive writing in third grade, which has always been. As a third grade teacher myself, I love teaching cursive writing. I know it sounds silly, but that was my thing. And but this year we expanded it to from second through sixth grade.
Okay.
And I'm so proud that when I went around at open house and our board went around at open house, we saw cursive writing in student work throughout the classroom. Yes, they still word process, but the cursive writing was there. And it breaks my heart sometimes when kids say they can't read the writing, because that is sometimes getting to be a lost art. But in Savannah, we have taught cursive writing at least since 1990. I can tell you that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you touched on a point there about, you know, laws changing, legislation, things like that. It's often bits that, you know, folks don't really think about, that schools really have to, play along those rules as well. Is it something that gets in the way of running a school sometimes, being the superintendent? Is it something that then takes you away from doing something you'd rather do, because now you've got to pay attention to something that might legislatively pass that may be good or not good for the school? Does it sort of like affect your way of life at all, like that?
I think you have to always know what's coming on the horizon. I think there are certainly times where we lobby for things that we believe will be good for kids and things we believe won't be good for kids. But I think using groups to lobby for those is really important. Collectively, as a group of superintendents in Orange County, we meet with our legislators. We've tried to meet annually to kind of go over what's out there, because so often they come up with some more rule, and there are only so many hours in the day and only so many people to collect all this data that they want.
Right.
And I don't even know what they do with the data.
Sure.
So it's unfortunate, but when we have cases of data that they may never look at, and it's taking somebody away from actually a job that could be working with children, that's really frustrating.
Right.
And you still do the same amount of work in a district the size of Savannah and the size of Garden Grove Unified.
Of course.
It's the same amount of work.
Just different volume.
Well, maybe not even different volumes, because you still have to create all the documents, you still have to create all the plans. And we thought that the new way of running things with the local control accountability plan would be less, state oversight. What it did was it created more rules.
Right.
And, the board now has to have plans, and we have to have a plan to plan, which is kind of silly, but that's just the rule. So
then I'll just ask you a question. So basically, these organizations will sit down, take the word or what you're looking at, and then they will in turn then work their magic and try and push this through to whichever way it's supposed to go.
Well, they oftentimes work with legislators to see who might carry the legislation. And meeting one-on-one with those legislators, bringing them out to your schools, having them see what's out there is really important.
Right.
Because sometimes you have to have boots on the ground to see what's happening.
Of course.
It's easy to make rules in a vacuum. But
for anything. You're right. You're right.
You need to see what's happening.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think working at the local level is really important with our city council people, with our city managers. And that's what I like to do, is contact the city manager if there's something we can work together on.
Yeah.
And those are the parts that have been the most exciting for me, is the partnerships with the cities, making sure that what we're doing is good for kids, but it's also good for the city. It's bringing people into the city, but it's bringing people into the school district as well. And that is apparent in a number of partnerships. We work with 4 cities. We reside within 4 cities. We have schools in 2, but we reside within 4. We have 4 police departments. We have 4 fire departments. So it's really easy to lose track of that. But I actually think it's great because we can have resources from various cities that are unique and different for that city.
I totally agree with you. We're almost on the same area there. So we have a region and we work with 4 different cities, and there is a plus to it because in fact you get 4 different opinions. You can actually get 4 better ideas. Like it does work for it. So on that point, which is a great lead in, do you mind sharing what cities you serve in and the districts you're in?
We serve Anaheim. So 3 of our schools are in Anaheim. We also serve Buena Park. We have 1 school in Buena Park, and we have children who live in Buena Park attending that school and attending some of our other schools. We serve the city of Cypress, and then we also serve the city of Stanton. So 4 cities, 4 very different personalities, I guess you might call it.
Yeah.
4 different areas, but all coming together to support kids. And it's really neat when we were able to work with all 4 cities at the same time.
Now, not every superintendent has to deal with so many different widespread areas there. So what makes the district unique for you?
Well, I think that's one of them. I think being in a suburban area, but having the resources of a big urban area is important. I mean, you look at the city the size of Anaheim and a city the size of Stanton, those are very diverse.
Very different.
And they have very diverse needs.
Yeah.
And the kids coming from those cities have different needs, but they're still kids.
Right.
So I think that's one thing, but I also think being a small district makes it a very family-like feel.
Right.
You're not a name on a paper. I know the names of our employees, and in many cases I try to know the names of the children. And I always try to know the names of the children. In many cases I do know the names of the children, and it's not just the ones that are mentioned over and over and over again by the principals. So those are not the kids I'm looking at. I'm looking at the kids like Hector that I saw at open house when he was in 1st grade. And his mom wanted to take a picture with me, and we're both going like this. Don't ask me why, but we're both, peace sign. And then Hector, I see at open house every year after that. And Hector, who came back in his cap and gown when he graduated from high school this year,
Wow.
to say thank you.
That's amazing.
Those are the kinds of kids that you want to connect with, because they're just the quiet learners, the ones that are just out there doing what they need to do. And he's really excited. He's going to go into kinesiology and is going into think he said Chapman University this fall.
Wow,
so pretty
that's
cool.
awesome. That is very cool. That's very cool. So, as you wrapped up another school year or coming up to it, what are some of the highlights from the year that especially made you proud?
I always love the learning and what happens with the kids and how much they've learned. And the most important things we do and is to go out to those classrooms and see what's happening in the classrooms. I take the board with me, whoever's available. If they're not available, they don't show. But and we try to spend at least 3 days every year, maybe more often, complete days at a school, every school. And we walk the classrooms, we go in, we talk to kids, we sit down and read with the children, listen to what they have to say. I love those kids because those are the kids that you want to connect with. And I want to make sure that they feel welcomed as well. So it's seeing the learning that's taking place, it's interacting with the teachers, it's seeing all of the work up on display, and then it's going back at open house. And that is like a kid in a candy shop. There's so much up that you can't read everything, you can't see everything, you can't touch everything, but it's so important, and the families are so excited to be there. So that's really important.
So one thing that stands out about Savanna is how early learning is a focus. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the infant, toddler, preschool programs?
I would be very happy to. So this is something that we did. We started to take it back from an outside agency in 2023.
Okay.
So July of 2023, we had talked with the board about, maybe we need to take back the preschool. It had been contracted out since the early 80s.
Okay.
And I think what frustrated me most was going into those classrooms after COVID and seeing a preschool classroom with 4 children, and that's all they had. It's like, we can do better. We know we can do better. This is not serving our community, and we need to take this over.
Right.
And so we were able to open our first class, district-run class. And we didn't do one class. We did classes at every single school. We did 8 classes. We opened them up in July or August, for first day of school, August of 2023. And then in my infinite wisdom, I said to the board, well, why don't we do something for like staff children? Because we want to retain the staff. And let's look at the babies. Let's look at the seeing firsthand with my daughter how difficult it is to find quality infant care.
That's true.
We decided to start an infant toddler program for staff children. And this program takes children from 6 weeks old to 2 years. And those children can then age up into our 2-year-old preschool, age up into our 3-year-old preschool, and then a couple of them have actually aged into our TK classes. Not starting at infants, but the siblings have. So once we get the family there, we keep the family there. So that started because I saw a need for it, and because I saw a need for that. And now the need is growing out into the community. We're able to expand, and we're able to add an infant toddler program for our community this fall. Which I'm really excited about. It's, there's such a need for good quality infant care. And so it will be a 18 to 30-month program, and children can age from there into the 2-year-old room, into the 3-year-old room, and then into transitional kindergarten. So,
and how many schools is that across?
We only have one program.
Okay.
We have it at one school site because it's small right now.
It's a lot to do with.
It's you have to have the right staffing in place too.
Right.
And the rules regarding preschool are like something they are crazy, something you've never imagined. But it's the most rule-driven industry I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot of rule-driven industries, but that one is it.
So do you feel that, so obviously, I mean, this is a very new and innovative idea. Do you feel that, seeing this grow, that this could be something that maybe could grow into the other districts?
I don't know. We're pretty proud of it. I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it's what people who go to work need.
Yes, it is.
You know?
It is. But again, you have to have state funding for some of these things, and if you don't have the ability to do that through state funding, you can't afford it as a district.
It's very expensive. Yeah.
You can't.
But
Can't do that.
that's amazing. Congratulations. That's a very good job. So on another moving slightly on from that, what about preparing students for, you got middle school and then long-term success? How does Savanna School District sort of like ease into that?
Well, we don't ease into it. We jump right in. We started with full day kindergarten probably 15 to 18 years ago.
Okay.
When kindergarten used to be a half-day program, we decided, I had a couple of teachers come to me and say, we want to teach full-day kindergarten.
Yeah.
There's not enough time in the day to teach the curriculum.
Right.
So we want to do it.
Yeah.
And these are the same two teachers who said, this is what we need to teach. Either you give me permission or I'm going to teach it anyway. So we need to teach phonics. So it was great because we started the full day kindergarten program and never looked back. And then it became the law.
Right.
We really appreciated that because that's what our community needs. Mm-hmm. The parents need the kids in school to do the learning because so many of our parents work two jobs or they don't have the ability to assist the children because they're working with kids of their own at home. Mm-hmm. And they really want the kids in school to learn that material. And I'm not saying the teachers are babysitters. They work really, really hard.
Of course.
But they want them to have more access to the curriculum. They want them to have access to learning all day long.
Right.
And gone are the days where we take naps in TK.
Sure.
And then they came in and added a transitional kindergarten program. And the state eased the ages back to where it was a transition over a number of years, but now our children starting transitional kindergarten have to be 4 by September 3rd, I believe, September 2nd or 3rd. They have to be 4 years old. That's pretty young.
Yeah.
But we start school in August.
Yeah.
So we have children that start transitional kindergarten at 3 years old.
Of course, right.
So that's a whole different ballgame. That we still need a lot of play, we still need a lot of learning, and for the children who have never been to preschool, they need the ability to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
They need the ability to know how to stand in line. They need to have the ability to sit crisscross applesauce on the carpet. They need to know how to behave, how to get along with friends. It's the socialization skills that they need.
Yeah.
And that's also a good reason for having these full day programs. But as we transition, as we go up the grades, I think looking at the curriculum is so important. So we never lost our phonics base. Mm-hmm. I think phonics is important in our primary grades, and having a strong English language arts program, a strong math program, and then folding in our social studies and science really helps to make it well-rounded for our children. Knowing what the curriculum is, our board adopts curriculum areas based on state standards, based on what's out there. They adopt the materials after committees review it, after teachers have the opportunity to get involved with the textbooks and offer input. We try them out for a while.
Right.
It's kind of like you wouldn't buy a suit if you go to the clothes store and just look at it and pull it off the rack. We're not going to do that with textbooks either.
Right.
We're going to make sure that we've tested it out, we make sure we like it, and this is what we're recommending for our children because this is what they're going to be learning from.
Right.
I think science is a really key component for us. We stepped into STEM probably big time, probably pre-pandemic. Uh-huh. We built STEM centers on each of our campuses where the children can participate in both science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's really the engineering and the technology and the science that come together for them. I mean, we see that with a lot of basic beginning robotics types of things, but we expand on that in the upper grades. So they're starting to learn coding. They're starting to get excited about building things, and that's important.
Yeah.
You need that carrot to bring kids to school. You need to hit the spark. And this is our future engineers.
Yeah, they are.
This is our future.
Future leaders, yeah.
So we need to make sure that we're giving them all the tools to look at before they decide what they want to do.
You know, we've heard a lot recently about educationers not maybe receiving funding they require, their salaries and what have you, things like that. So, you know, is that something that's come across your desk? Is it something that you see? Is it something that needs more assistance to?
Well, it always comes across my desk because every teacher out there deserves to be paid way more than they're paid.
Right.
And not that we can afford it, but every teacher out there puts their heart and soul into teaching. But it's not just the teachers, because you can't just teach in a vacuum.
Right.
You need the amazing support staff. And those are the folks who also, everybody needs to be paid what they're worth. And unfortunately, they're all worth their weight in gold. So we can't afford to pay them all in gold.
Right.
However, it is the support staff that work so quietly behind the scenes, but it's the instructional assistants, it's the bus drivers, it's the custodians, it's your maintenance people, it's the people who work at our food services department, it's our after-school group leaders, it's all of those folks, it's our school office staff who all work together to make it happen, because without that army of that army of workers, we would never be able to support our schools. And so the group as a whole, absolutely, I think they all should be paid more. Think about it. A kindergarten teacher, you remember your kindergarten teacher for a lifetime.
Yeah,
you remember, like I remember my first day of kindergarten. That's what I decided to do. But think about a Major League Baseball player. They all started in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
Look at their salaries compared to a teacher's salary.
Right.
There's no comparison. And okay, you got to put a lot of time in, but these teachers put in a ton of time.
Sure.
And so absolutely, everybody deserves to be well paid.
Now, you were mentioning earlier about networking and partnering, especially with the cities and things like that. Do you mind sharing a little bit about some of the partnerships you have that enhance the students' experience and, of course, the school districts?
Oh, we are really excited to have a number of partnerships. So let me talk about the cities first.
Sure.
Because we have 4 cities, and we have 4 very different approaches to supporting our schools. So with the city of Anaheim, and I'll go alphabetically so I don't offend anybody.
Good idea.
In Anaheim, we work with them on our park ranger program, and they provide park rangers to help us patrol our schools on the weekends. They long have our schools in Anaheim. We're also partnering with the Haskett Library in Anaheim. They have come out and provided books upon books for our children, and they do book giveaways both during our school year and our after-school program and during our summer academy program. We are also looking to partner with the Anaheim Police Department to do a school resource officer for next year. So we have partnerships with Anaheim in a variety of areas, and they are so good in supporting us. Buena Park, next alphabetically, supports us with their a whole variety of things. We have a strong partnership with Buena Park. They have stepped up with our after-school program, and they provide a huge amount of their community services people to come onto Holder's campus. Holder is our only school in Buena Park.
Sure.
And they support that program every single day after school for at least an hour and a half with recreational activities, and on Wednesdays it's cultural arts activities. So Buena Park has been amazing. They've given our children opportunities to go and perform at various city events. They've performed at city council events, city council meetings. They've performed at the holiday tree lighting. They like to perform, and this gives them the venue to perform. They've gone to the Senior Citizen Center to perform. So that's another opportunity for our kids that they wouldn't normally get.
Right.
And that's a great partnership. With Cypress, next alphabetically, we have our partnership with the City of Cypress and the Cypress Police Department, because they partner with us for the PACE program, which is Positive Actions Through Character Education. And they come into 2 of our schools and help teach that program to our children. And they teach it to 6th graders. And it's been an amazing program over the last number of years. And then Stanton, again, is a great partner with us. we brought in the sheriff's department from Stanton to do the Above the Influence program for our 5th and 6th grade children this year. And Stanton has been a community partner with us. They actually built a park on one of our school sites.
Wow.
So they've been a partner with us. It's a long story. It no longer is our school site. It is their park. But they've been a really good partner with us over the number of years. So the cities play an important role in what we do, and we try to also give back to those cities. And it's the relationships with the cities, the city managers, their staff, that is so very critical. We were able to provide our children in our after-school program the opportunity to take swim lessons, thanks to the city of Buena Park. So just the opportunities for children through the cities is just amazing.
Now, following on really with partnerships, is there anything that across your district would be nice to have, whether it's upgrading a school park or a playground area or anything out like that, that maybe a business or other corporation that's listening to this may like to contact you and help?
Well, that's a great question. And I think there's always a need. We're looking at, school safety is always something that we're very conscious of. We want to make sure that we have the safest facilities. So the one thing that we saw on the news, actually, unfortunately, after one of the school events that happened this year, were the wearables, where staff had something attached to their name tag where they could call the police immediately.
Oh, okay.
And I think that that's our next, hopefully, look out there. But our community was amazing in terms of passing school bonds and providing funding for us to upgrade our facilities. So I'm very proud of our facilities. We have probably the best facilities in Orange County, if not the state. They're really amazing. So I'm very proud of that. But in terms of supporting the children, supporting the programs, I think really being able to expand, and it takes staff to expand that program. And it's finding the right staff who want to work with kids. And if we had more staff, that would be great. We also partnered with the Orange County Department of Ed to start an apprentice program last year. And the apprentice program is really geared for 16 to 24-year-olds who want to earn while they learn, actually.
Right.
And so they are hired through the Orange County Department of Ed or their third party to come in and learn right alongside our staff, and they get paid for it, but they're also working toward finishing that apprenticeship so that at the end they're fully employable and they're able to go out and get a job, and we will hire them back.
Wow.
if they make it through the whole program.
That's
so
really cool.
Really exciting. So
Yeah, that
if
is
you
good.
have any 16 to 24-year-olds, both in our after-school program, in our preschool, we're looking for those kinds of people. So those are the types of programs that I think they could really help with, is steering staff our way, steering any kind of, sometimes we just need stuff. And
Yeah.
teachers need stuff.
Yeah.
And the teachers love to have things in their classroom that kids can touch and feel and all of that. And I know that teachers love to have donations of materials and supplies. So sometimes I look at it and think, what am I going to do with 5 of these things? But those 5 things become very important when you're looking at doing it as a reward for a child. You know, if Angels baseball might have 25 backpacks left.
Right,
If we
right.
had those 25 backpacks, those would go a long way.
Right,
We have a
I see.
partnership with Disney where we're able to get some of their Mickey's attic materials or items that become very coveted by our kids, because they may never make it to Disneyland.
Sure,
they live in
sure.
Anaheim, but they may never make it there.
Right.
But this gives them a piece of Disney. We have a partnership with TGR Learning Labs to be able to take our children over there in 5th and 6th grades, 6th grade now, but during the summer, 5th and 6th grades, to do a week-long field trip over to that facility, which is an amazing facility. We're just so proud of that partnership. So I think we have a lot of partnerships. I think it's the big brothers, big sisters, getting that mentorship. So I think if businesses out there are looking for something to volunteer, it's volunteering time. It's volunteering. If you have a day a week or a morning a week or an hour a week that you can come in and just sit down and read with a child, sit down and mentor a child, That's what we're looking for. I think that would go a long way, because kids need that positive role model in their lives. And if we had somebody, a consistent adult, to come in and be with that child, it will be a game changer. Those are the people that they're going to remember forever.
That's a really nice thing to say. That one of the things that you mentioned there was obviously some of the measures got changed, which allowed the school districts to have a little bit more money to do things. What's some of the initiatives, or even the work that's going to get done across the district that you're planning to do?
Oh gosh, well, we did a lot. We passed our first bond in 2008. And during that time, we modernized 2 schools. We passed a second bond, thank you to our voters, in 2012, and that modernized the next 2 facilities. We were able to sell a piece of property to the city of Stanton, which then became their Stanton Central Park, and that helped to modernize our district office. But there's always a need out there for projects.
Right.
And so as we expand our after-school program and our preschool, we've undertaken several major projects this year. So we're almost complete with a new wing for our preschool program over at Holder School. And we're in progress with we just finished a new infant toddler room at Hanson with our after school program. It's kind of a combined facility, I guess. And then we're adding to that with 2 more preschool rooms so that we can expand our preschool opportunities. And then we're putting in a new, I know it sounds silly, but we're putting in a new building for a freezer project in our central kitchen, because what we found during and after COVID is we need to have the ability to get food for our children well in advance and have it in stock, because it's not always available, and sometimes you're at the mercy of the vendors or any other things. And now that we're serving breakfast, lunch, and we have a full supper program for our after school program, and we have snack, and we offer Saturday Academy, I think all of those go together for feeding the children in our community. And for our kids, that might be the only meals they get.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about the after-school program, a little bit about it, where it is, and of course, then you said you've got the Saturday Academy. You'd like to share a little bit about that? Okay,
so those are 2 very separate things. Let me start with our after-school program. Our after-school program started in 2022. Had no idea what we were going to do with it. We got it's called the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program. We hired a coordinator at the end of that year who was also finishing out the year as a site principal, and it's like, you got to get this thing up and started by August 1st or whatever in the world it was. And it took off. We didn't know if we were going to have 5 children, 50 children, or 500. And we started out with 500, and it's over 100 children at every single school. It's amazing. The children are involved in a variety of activities. They have sports, they have robotics, they have engineering, they have science, they have crafts, they have dance, they have all kinds of activities. There's always time for homework, to get the homework done, because that's what parents need. And children deserve to get that homework done. You don't want to get home at 6 o'clock and still have to face your homework. No. So we need time for that homework. We need that after school time. And so it's a very well-rounded program where kids are actively involved in activities from the time school gets out until the time their parents pick them up. And the cool part about it is that we found that parents were getting there to pick children up about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Right. And the children would say, "Can you just come back? I don't want to go home." And that's the neat thing. We moved some of our programs that were during the school day to after school to help enhance our daytime program and give more instructional time. So we've had a long-standing partnership with the Pacific Symphony for strings instruction. And we moved that to the after-school time frame, offered to all of our children in 4th, 5th, and 6th grades, whether they're in our after-school program or not. Right. And this year we had 150 musicians performing at the end of the year on the Cypress College stage, and that was amazing. They've learned the violin, the viola, and the cello, and I have to tell you, they sounded really good.
That is
cool. So it was amazing. So those are the kinds of programs. We have Big Brothers Big Sisters after school. We have partnerships there. And again, the city of Buena Park comes in at Holder. So it's a huge undertaking. They also run during the summer. So we have our Summer Academy program that is now in full swing because the school year has ended and they started. Our children have to be enrolled in the morning program to be able to participate in the after-school program. But again, it's the same kind of clubs and activities that the children enjoy during the school day.
Right.
And then they have field trip Fridays.
That's
so
cool.
Today, I think one group went to Mother's Beach and another group went somewhere else. Last week they all went to the LA Zoo. So they go places and but they're learning places.
Of course, yeah.
So our Saturday Academy, we've had this in place since, I want to say 2013, 14 maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it's since that time, but it's an opportunity for children to come and just get an extra scoop of learning. And originally it was to make up absences, but now it's just to get that extra learning support. And we oftentimes get kids who have not missed any days of school. They don't need extra learning support because they're doing very well academically, but they just love coming to school. And that's a great opportunity. We don't do it every Saturday, but we do it selected Saturdays throughout the year, and it's from 8 to 12 at one school site. It's very well attended, and we had about 2,000 made up 2,000 attendance days this year at Saturday Academy.
And are they different ages?
It's transitional kindergarten through 6th grade, so it's every age.
Wow.
They are able to just get that extra learning opportunity there at Saturday Academy. At that time, we also have a parent club where parents can come and learn strategies on working with their children. So it's kind of a well-rounded opportunity for parents and kids, kind of a one-stop shop. So we're really excited about that opportunity as well.
All right. So it's been very educational today without being funny there, Sue. So thank you very much. But we've reached the time in our episode today where we always give time for the guests to share something themselves. So maybe there's something we've missed, maybe there's something you'd like to add, or maybe it's just final words to the viewers. And so take it away. It's up to you.
Well, thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that none of this would be possible without the amazing staff that we have, without their dedication and their hard work, without the person that stands at the gate and greets the children by name every single morning, without the teacher who gives the child the high five and never knows the impact that that's going to have on their day, without the school secretary who knows exactly who to call when a child has to get something from home, without the school counselor who knows the connection, just the right connection for that child, without the bus driver who greets those kids as they come on the bus and knows who the parents are as they drop them off at the end of the day, without all the people coming together to make this possible, it wouldn't be school. It takes a village. And Savanna really is a village, and I would be remiss because I'm one person, but these children need this entire community to make their school experience a positive one. And I believe because of our staff, their school experience is a positive one. They say that to one person, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be their entire world. And that is what our staff are to each and every one of our children. They are that world. They are that person that they look up to, that they respect, that they look forward to seeing each and every morning, that they give a high five to on the way out the door. And those are the kids that we really want to reach. And I can't thank you enough for having me here today, to the community for their support of our schools and our families, and to the cities for their support of our children. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate it, Andrew.
Thank you very much. And there you have it, another end of our episode. So thank you very much, listeners, for tuning in to Chamber Talk. Until next time, stay inspired and connected by visiting nocchamber.com and selecting sign up for news at the homepage. For more interviews, visit chambertalk.podbean.com.